Colin Kaepernick. There was no press release, no headline that said Colin Kaepernick is banned. He never failed a drug test, never got arrested. He just kneeled and then vanished. Let's rewind. In 2016, Kaepernick, then the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, decided to kneel during the national anthem. He wasn't seeking attention. He wasn't trying to disrespect troops. He was protesting police brutality, quietly, intentionally, and it blew up. The moment cameras caught it, the conversation stopped being about football. It became politics. Fans burned jerseys. TV hosts lost their minds. Politicians started tweeting. And the NFL? It panicked. At the end of that season, Kaepernick opted out of his contract. He was still just 29 years old. Healthy, athletic, a former Super Bowl quarterback. He assumed he'd get signed. He didn't. Not in 2017, not in 2018, not ever. He trained, stayed in shape. Other QBs were getting signed, guys with half his resume, no playoff wins, no mobility. But Kaepernick's name didn't come up, not even for workouts. He eventually filed a collusion grievance against the NFL, accusing team owners of working together to keep him out. The case never made it to trial. They settled, privately. Even today, the league insists he wasn't blackballed. They say it was football decisions. But everyone knows that's not true. Kaepernick wasn't banned by a suspension. He was banned by fear, by the unspoken rule that says you can say what you want until it hurts our bottom line. And that's why to this day, he remains the most quietly banned player in NFL history. Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon didn't get banned in a single moment. He didn't commit a crime. He didn't fight a teammate. He didn't bet on games. All he did was struggle with addiction, and the league treated him like a repeat criminal. Let's go back to 2013. Gordon was only 22 years old, playing for the Cleveland Browns, a team with zero identity and even fewer offensive weapons. He had Brandon Weeden, Jason Campbell, and Brian Hoyer throwing him the ball, a quarterback carousel that would make most wide receivers invisible. But not Gordon. He led the league in receiving with 1,646 yards in just 14 games. And yes, he missed those 2 games because of a suspension for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy, specifically marijuana. From the outside, it looked like a one-time thing, a blip. But behind the scenes, Josh was spiraling. He'd later reveal he started drinking and using numerous substances heavily in college. By the time he got to the league, he was self-medicating a deep-rooted issue. But instead of help, the NFL gave him rules. Fail a test, suspended. Fail again, longer suspension. No therapy, no leniency, no understanding of addiction. In 2014, he was suspended again. In 2015, suspended for a full season. And just when it looked like he was gone for good, he came back in 2017, played 5 games, showed flashes. The world thought, maybe he's back. Then came another test, another violation, and another indefinite suspension. Josh Gordon was never out of shape, never caused drama. He worked out, stayed clean for stretches, got support. But the structure of the league wasn't built for someone in recovery. Teams still took chances on him. The Patriots, the Seahawks, even the Chiefs. And for a few moments, you'd see it. The freak athlete who for one season looked like the best receiver in the world. But he was never given a real shot to stabilize, because every violation brought the hammer down again. Now, Josh Gordon is in his 30s, playing in alternate leagues. Still fast, still skilled, still suspended by history. He's not just a cautionary tale. He's a case study in what happens when the system punishes pain instead of healing it. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed and dropped a like for the algorithm. Ray Rice. Before 2014, Ray Rice was a model NFL citizen, 3-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, face of the Ravens offense, short, powerful, tough. The kind of running back who did everything right on the field and supposedly off it. Then came the elevator and a decision that changed everything. Security footage surfaced of Ray Rice and his then-fiancée Jenna Palmer arguing in an Atlantic City casino elevator. At first, all the public saw was the aftermath. Rice dragging her unconscious body out of the elevator. The NFL suspended him for 2 games. 2. A punishment lighter than some players got for celebrating too long. The backlash was immediate. Media, players, fans, everyone said the same thing. 2 games? That's it? But the NFL stood by it. They claimed they didn't have all the facts. They said it was standard protocol. Then came the full video. It showed Ray Rice rocking Janae. And suddenly, the league flipped. Ray Rice was cut by the Ravens, indefinitely suspended, and blacklisted from the NFL. He was only 27 years old, healthy, productive, and never played another down. What makes this ban so important isn't just what Rice did, it's what it exposed. The NFL had clearly seen enough of the incident before the public did, but they didn't act until the public saw it too. The problem wasn't just violence, it was evidence. It was PR. The NFL didn't change its domestic violence policy because it wanted to. It changed it because it had no choice. Ray Rice paid the ultimate price, not just with his career, but with his legacy. And while he's since taken steps to advocate against domestic violence, for the league, it didn't matter. There was no suspension countdown, no comeback tour, no second chance. Ricky Williams wasn't a bust. He was a Heisman winner, a top 5 pick, and an 1,800-yard rusher. Built like a power back, ran like a track star. And yet, the thing most people remember him for? Retiring to smoke weed. But the real story? It's not that simple. Let's rewind. Williams entered the NFL in 1999 as the biggest running back prospect since Barry Sanders. The Saints gave up 8 draft picks to get him, an entire draft class for one guy. The pressure was enormous. He didn't smile in interviews. He wore a helmet during media sessions. People thought he was weird. Turns out, he had crippling anxiety and no support system. He played well, better than people remember. He made the Pro Bowl, led the league in carries, got traded to the Dolphins, and rushed for 1,853 yards in 2002. He was elite, but off the field, he was unraveling. He failed multiple drug tests for marijuana. Back then, a single violation meant a mandatory suspension. No discussion, no flexibility. And Ricky? He didn't hide it. He openly used weed to manage anxiety and social isolation. The NFL saw that as a violation. Ricky saw it as survival. In 2004, after another failed test, he walked away, said he was done. Media dragged him. Fans called him a burnout. He was mocked on every sports show. But while they were clowning him, Ricky was finding himself. He studied yoga, meditation, nutrition, and slowly he healed. Eventually, Ricky returned. He played for the Dolphins and Ravens. He was productive, even into his mid-30s. But he never outran the narrative. He threw away his career for weed. Here's the kicker. In 2021, the NFL relaxed its marijuana policy. No suspensions for weed. Fines only in extreme cases. The same league that destroyed Ricky Williams' prime now sells CBD sponsorships. So was he banned? Yes. Multiple times. But more than that, he was punished for being ahead of his time. If Ricky played today, he'd be on magazine covers as a mental health pioneer. Back then, he was just a punchline. Calvin Ridley didn't throw a game. He wasn't even playing. But in 2021, he placed a $1,500 parlay on NFL games while away from the team for mental health reasons. And the league hit him with a season-long suspension. Let's break it down. Ridley had stepped away from the Atlanta Falcons midway through the 2021 season. He cited mental health struggles, depression, anxiety, burnout. The Falcons supported it publicly. Fans did too. It looked like the league was finally taking emotional wellness seriously. But during that time off, Ridley opened up a sports betting app. He wagered on a multi-leg parlay that included the Falcons winning, a small bet, made legally in the state of Florida, with no inside info and no impact on the outcome. The total amount? $1,500. The NFL's response? Indefinite suspension. Minimum 1 full year. That meant missing all of 2022. And more importantly, losing $11 million in salary. The irony? That same year, the NFL struck major gambling deals with Caesars, DraftKings, and FanDuel. There were betting commercials during games. The league literally partnered with the industry, while banning a player for using it. And let's be clear, Ridley wasn't fixing outcomes. He bet on his own team to win. He wasn't the first guy to gamble. He just did it in the wrong era. The one where the league profits from betting but won't tolerate players being seen as gamblers. In 2023, he was reinstated and traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He came back strong, but that stain was still there. Art Schllester. Before Calvin Ridley, before sportsbooks were official league sponsors, there was Art Schllester, the original cautionary tale. He was a top 5 pick in 1982. Quarterback, strong arm, big frame, a college star at Ohio State. The Colts believed he'd be their next franchise guy, but Art Schllester had a secret. He was addicted to gambling, not the occasional parlay. A full-blown, destructive addiction that spiraled fast. In his rookie season, he started betting non-stop, not just on sports, on everything. Horse racing, casino games, blackjack, slots. He reportedly lost hundreds of thousands of dollars within months of signing his rookie contract. To cover losses, he borrowed from teammates, from friends. Eventually, he started writing bad checks, lying to coaches, even gambling on NFL games, including games he was on the roster for. The league caught wind and suspended him in 1983. He missed the entire season, got reinstated, played a little bit more, but the damage was done. He never recovered as a player, only appearing in 13 career NFL games, and by the mid-80s, he was out of the league, permanently banned. But his story didn't stop there. After football, Schllester kept gambling. He burned through jobs, relationships, even jail sentences. By the 2000s, he was serving time for fraud and theft. He once ran a ticket-selling scam where he took money for fake Ohio State football seats. He served over 10 years behind bars. As of today, he's still dealing with legal fallout. The NFL won't mention his name. Why? Because Art Schllester wasn't just suspended, he was scrubbed. Justin Blackman. In 2012, the Jacksonville Jaguars needed a spark, so they took Justin Blackman, a 6'1" freak from Oklahoma State, with the 5th overall pick in the NFL draft. He was a 2-time Biletnikoff Award winner, a 1,500-yard machine. He looked like the next Dez Bryant, but with even more polish. Jacksonville thought they'd finally found their guy, and at first, it looked like they had. By week 11 of his rookie season, Blackman dropped 236 yards in one game. Still a rookie, on a bad team, catching passes from Chad Henne. He finished the year with 865 yards, despite shaky quarterback play and a terrible offense. But behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. Before he even played a down, Blackman got arrested for DUI during the offseason. Not once, but twice. The league didn't suspend him immediately, but they were watching. Then came a 4-game suspension in 2013 for violating the substance abuse policy. No one said what substance. He came back for 2 games and looked amazing. 19 catches, 326 yards. Then, boom, suspended indefinitely. The Jaguars didn't cut him, but he never returned. Year after year, the team said, "We're supporting him through his personal challenges." By 2015, Blackman was arrested again. He completely disappeared from football. To this day, he's only 35 years old. He's younger than Travis Kelce. But in the NFL's eyes, he no longer exists. Sam Hurd. Sam Hurd wasn't a superstar. He wasn't even a starter. But in 2011, he was on the Chicago Bears roster, catching passes and doing interviews like any other wide receiver in the league. What no one knew, he was also trying to become a drug kingpin. And this isn't speculation. This is DEA file stuff. Here's how it unfolded. Hurd had spent years with the Dallas Cowboys as a depth receiver and special teamer. Quiet guy, team player. In 2011, the Bears signed him to a $5 million deal. But just a few months later, everything exploded. On December 14th, 2011, Sam Hurd met with an undercover agent in a Chicago steakhouse. What he didn't know was that the entire thing was a federal sting operation. He told the agent he wanted to buy 5 to 10 kilograms of cocaine, 1,000 pounds of marijuana per week. Let that sink in. A current NFL player was trying to wholesale narcotics. He even claimed he was already distributing drugs and wanted to upscale the business. The DEA arrested him on the spot. He was released on bail and within weeks failed 2 drug tests. The The league immediately cut ties, no trial needed. He later pleaded guilty to drug trafficking and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. He served time in a high-security facility, real time, and when the dust settled, he went down as one of the most surreal NFL bans of all time. No one saw it coming. No one had ever tried to run a drug empire while actively on an NFL roster. Alden Smith. In 2012, Alden Smith looked like the next Lawrence Taylor. He had 19.5 sacks in his second season, playing alongside Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman on a terrifying 49ers defense. He wasn't just good, he was game-breaking, a quarterback's worst nightmare. But off the field, it was a mess. Smith was arrested for DUI before his third season even began. Then came the weapons charges. He was caught with illegal assault rifles after firing them at a party where someone got shot. Then, in 2014, he faked a bomb threat at LAX. Yes, an NFL player literally got detained at the airport for saying he had a bomb. He later said he was joking. The league didn't laugh. By 2015, after more alcohol-related incidents, the 49ers cut him. He signed with the Raiders, but got suspended again, this time for a full year. Then came the domestic violence allegations, the rehab stints. It never stopped. By the time he finally got back on an NFL field in 2020, after a 5-year ban, he was a shell of himself. He played 1 year with the Cowboys, flashed glimpses of greatness, and then disappeared again. No comeback story. He might have been one of the best edge rushers of his generation, if he'd ever gotten the chance to just be healthy. Vontes Perfect. Vontes Perfect never cared about your feelings, or your spine. If you were on the field, especially if you wore black and gold, he was coming for you, not with technique, but with pure rage. Perfect went undrafted in 2012, not because he lacked talent, but because teams thought he was too unhinged, too emotional, too aggressive, too likely to get ejected. The Cincinnati Bengals gave him a shot, and at first, it paid off. He led the team in tackles, made the Pro Bowl in 2013, looked like a middle linebacker from the old school. Helmet-to-helmet hits, late shots, blows to the head. He racked up over $5 million in fines during his career. That's not an exaggeration. The most infamous moment came in the 2015 AFC wildcard game against the Steelers. Perfect leveled Antonio Brown with a brutal helmet-to-helmet shot that left Brown unconscious. The Bengals lost the game, and the league made Perfect public enemy number 1. He got suspended multiple times, and then in 2019, it all came crashing down. While playing for the Raiders, Perfect launched himself again into Jack Doyle's head. It wasn't the worst hit of his career, but it was the last straw. The NFL handed down a season-long suspension, the longest in the league history for on-field conduct. He wasn't the first dirty player. He won't be the last. But he's the one who got erased. Paul Hornung and Alex Carris. Before Calvin Ridley. Before Art Schllester. Before FanDuel logos on goalposts. There was Paul Hornung and Alex Carris, two of the biggest names in the NFL. Both banned for gambling in a scandal that shocked the sports world. Paul Hornung was a star running back for the Green Bay Packers, the Golden Boy, Heisman winner, Vince Lombardi's favorite player. He could run, throw, and kick. A legit superstar in an era when guys had second jobs in the offseason. Alex Carris was a dominant defensive tackle for the Detroit Lions, tough as nails. Both were caught betting on NFL games, including games involving their own teams. The NFL wasn't as big back then, but Commissioner Pete Rozelle knew if fans thought the outcomes were rigged, the league would collapse overnight. So in 1963, Rozelle did the unthinkable. He suspended both Hornung and Carris for the entire season, and this was at the height of their careers. Hornung missed out on a potential third NFL title. Carris lost a year of his prime. Both were humiliated. But here's the twist. They came back. In 1964, both were reinstated. Hornung returned to Green Bay and finished his career with another championship. Carris kept dominating for Detroit, and later became an actor starring in Webster and even Blazing Saddles. They're both now remembered as legends, but their suspensions were the first time the NFL ever dropped the hammer on players for gambling. David Boston. David Boston was once considered the future of the wide receiver position. 6 feet 2 inches, blazing fast, and stronger than most linebackers. In 2001, he racked up 1,598 yards for the Arizona Cardinals and led the NFL in receiving. Then, he kept growing fast. In just a couple years, Boston showed up looking like a bodybuilder, not just lean, jacked, veins popping. People were confused. Then, it all made sense. By the time he signed a $47 million deal with the San Diego Chargers, Boston was 240 pounds of muscle, but couldn't stay healthy, couldn't stay quiet. He got busted for testing positive for steroids in 2004, a violation of the league's substance abuse and performance-enhancing drug policy. It wasn't just PEDs either. He also tested positive for cocaine in a separate incident. Then came legal troubles, a DUI, and multiple failed team physicals. By 2005, teams were done. The NFL suspended him for 4 games, but he never played another down. He went from all-pro to out of the league before 30. Martavius Bryant. There was a time when Martavius Bryant looked like the perfect complement to Antonio Brown. The Pittsburgh Steelers had one of the most dangerous offenses in the league. Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and then Bryant. 6 feet 4 inches, lightning fast, jumping over corners and dusting safeties downfield. In 2014, his rookie year, he averaged 21 yards per catch. By 2015, he had 765 yards and 6 touchdowns in just 11 games. And remember, he was doing all that as the number 2 receiver. But behind the scenes, the problems were already building. Bryant had failed multiple drug tests dating back to college. The NFL gave him a 4-game suspension in 2015. He came back, played well, then failed another test. This time, indefinite suspension. The league said he violated the substance abuse policy again. Most reports pointed to marijuana, though details were always vague. He missed the entire 2016 season. Came back in 2017, but it wasn't the same. He requested a trade and got sent to the Raiders. And then, another failed test. Another indefinite suspension. He tried the CFL, then the XFL, but he wasn't the same. Hernandez. Hernandez had it all. Size, speed, swagger. By age 23, he was catching touchdowns from Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. He had a $40 million contract, and then, overnight, it all collapsed. Let's rewind. Hernandez was drafted in 2010 by the New England Patriots. He was a steal, a 4th-round pick, because teams were wary of his off-field history. There were whispers about substance use, violence, gang affiliations. But Bill Belichick gave him a shot, and Hernandez delivered. By 2011, he and Rob Gronkowski formed the most dangerous tight end duo the NFL had ever seen. But behind the scenes, a double life. On June 17, 2013, Odin Lloyd, a semi-pro football player dating Hernandez's fiance's sister, was found unalived near Hernandez's home. Within days, the investigation pointed to Aaron. The Patriots cut him immediately. Then came the revelations. The evidence piled up. In 2015, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. And just when it seemed like his story was over, it wasn't. In 2017, Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell. He had taken his own life. Aaron Hernandez wasn't just suspended. He was erased from the NFL's history because his story was too dark to include and too real to ignore. Plaxico Burus. In 2008, Plaxico Burus had just caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. He was the Giants' #1 receiver, a physical mismatch at 6 feet 5 inches, unstoppable in the red zone, and a hero in New York. He just helped take down the undefeated Patriots in one of the biggest upsets in NFL history. He should have been a legend. Instead, he shot himself in the leg at a nightclub with an unlicensed handgun that was tucked in the waistband of his sweatpants, with no safety on. You couldn't script it worse. The bullet tore through his thigh, non-life-threatening, but enough to get him to a hospital. He tried to register under a fake name. Didn't work. The police were notified. And the city of New York? They came down hard. Burus was charged with criminal possession of a weapon, a felony in New York with mandatory minimum sentencing. Despite being a first-time offender, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. The NFL They suspended him. Then the Giants released him. By the time he came back, he was already 34 years old, older, slower, and never the same. Caught a few touchdowns, but the magic was gone, and so was the window. Lightning round. Pac-Man Jones, suspended multiple times for fights, arrests, strip club brawls, and even punching an airport employee. Somehow stayed in the league for over a decade before finally running out of second chances. David Irving quit the NFL on Instagram mid-suspension for marijuana. Tried to return, but the league had already moved on. Titus Young, second-round pick of the Lions in 2011. Talented receiver, but within 2 years, arrested 4 times in 1 week, including trying to break into a tow yard to steal his own car. Never played again. Ray Caruth, drafted 27th overall by the Panthers, convicted of conspiracy to murder the mother of his unborn child, served 18 years in prison. The NFL doesn't say his name anymore. There's even more players, but we'll save that for a future video. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed. Thanks for watching.